Nottingham Forest are in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup as they take on my second most detested team in Manchester United. I can't wait for this one. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Carabao Cup semi-final, and we've got a guest that you guys have been asking for us to bring on, and he's kindly given us the time tonight. So welcome to Forest Fan TV. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are. Whatever time of day you're watching this, hope you're warm because I'm absolutely freezing. And welcome to Grumpy Old Reds as we get ready for the big game tomorrow, the semi final, as Nottingham Forest will host the scum that is Manchester United. We got the usual guys with us, we got Essence and Forest Ant. But more importantly, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us tonight, buddy. The crowd have been asking for you, and thank you so much for accepting our invite. It's great to have you. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Pleasure to come on. Really appreciate you asking me on. And like I say, I've had it my way as well. People commenting in some of my videos, get on Forest Fan TV. So I'm here today, and it's just before a massive game. So I'm buzzing. Looking forward to talking about things.
Fantastic. And Matt is going to be at the game tomorrow. So if any of you guys in the chat are going, please make sure you say hi to Matt. You're going to be around a bit before the game, are you, Matt? What are your plans for tomorrow?
Yeah, it depends on traffic, but I'll try and be there an hour or so before kick-off around the stadium, that is.
Yeah, there we go. Carl loving Matt being in here. We got the Viking Heart as well saying, welcome, Matt. Great to have you on here. Guys, we've opened a Q&A as well, so get your questions into Matt. Jimmy's in here. Evening to you, Jimmy, as well. Hope you're doing fantastically well. And I just can't get warm, guys. I really can't. But want to jump into it, Matt. And really, I want to start. Yeah, and how are you in a t-shirt? And please tell me, how much is your electricity bill? Seriously,
he's got the skills to pay the bills, mate. He's all right. He's fucking toasty.
We'll start with a 179 from Keza. Thank you so much. He says, Matt, I love you sticking up for Forest. Respect and much love. Thank you so much, Keza, for your donation. As always, buddy, we really appreciate it. Matt, you have been one of the shining lights on YouTube for flying the Forest flag, and we love you for it, mate. The way you've kind of defended Forest through all the dumb shit that we've seen from TalkSport and a lot of other fan bases. Really, I just want to start by asking you, mate, how do you feel our season's gone so far? And then I want to get on to what's attracted you to Forest. But let's start with how you feel the season's gone for Forest.
I think you can kind of split it into two halves already. So I'll just start by saying at the start of the season, I said Forest 11th. I thought they'd be in and around mid-table. And one thing I did say after the first couple of games anyway is I think this will be a gelling process. Forest had a pretty dysfunctional summer compared to at least the other two teams that came up with all that change that was needed, obviously, after a few loan players being there last year. I thought it'd take a while, and the important thing in those first few games was just get as many points on the board in those first games before you actually start to gel and get into some rhythm. So, for example, the 1-0 win over West Ham, crucial. The 1-1 draw at Everton, not a bad point. I mean, could have won that game, to be honest. So, yeah, it was a slowish start, but they kept themselves in it. You know, they were around 19th, 18th, and then they got a few crucial points just before the World Cup. Since the World Cup, I've got to say, they've defied even my expectations. They're really sort of going up the gears, and if this continues, who knows? I think 11th does sound a good shout at the moment. Look, things could change again. The Premier League's an unforgiving league. They could regress a little bit and then go back up. So there might be a bit of this through the season. However, at the moment, to find themselves 13th, and what are they doing in a Carabao Cup semi-final? The objective was to stay up this season. How they're in a semi-final is just beyond me. Brilliant.
Do you think that's a good thing for us? Because last season, obviously, we had that crazy run in the FA Cup, and that almost became the platform to push us forward. Do you think this Carabao Cup run has helped us?
I think so. Do you know what? I've always been a believer in cup runs can distract you from the league, but then Forest defied that last season, getting past Leicester, Arsenal, Huddersfield. You know, and Huddersfield were good last season. We'll even say, you know, they were a top 6 team last year in the Championship, and then really pushed Liverpool. They could have even got something from that one. And then they still went on to get in the playoffs. I mean, Forest had so many games that season. You know, you think that you had the FA Cup run, the 3 playoff games at the end, and they still got promoted. So it kind of debunked my theory in a cup run being distracting. Yeah, I think it just breeds positivity. You could see that from the Wolves game. You know, they've been picking up other good results around it. The Leicester game, I don't think the Bournemouth draw's a bad one as well. So it breeds confidence. It's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. It's weird, isn't it? I've never been a massive fan of the Carabao Cup. Like I've never seen Forest have a run in it. I know the likes of Ant there down below has lived and breathed the wins, for example. But and I've always called it the Mickey Mouse Cup. I'm not gonna lie, but not this season. Not this season. It's the most important one. As I keep saying, the FA Cup only has 2 handles, and the Carabao Cup has 3. So it's got to be better than that. You know? But do you feel that the turning point for Forest was in and around that World Cup period where things started to gel? Were you starting to see signs in and around then?
Yeah, I think the result which started to turn other people's heads. I mean, like I've said in my videos, I think Forest fans have always been pretty optimistic about this season. Even at the start when things weren't looking great, I noticed that Forest fans were still like, we'll improve. We've got Cooper, who's a good manager. The players are gelling, and like we said with the pundits, Talksport, Sky Sports, that oh no, Forest going down.
Yeah.
The result that turned people's heads is the Liverpool result. That 1-0 win against Liverpool. I mean, obviously we could say Liverpool aren't having a great season this year in general, but they still beat them 1-0. Really good result. And I think after that was it the draw against Brentford, and they got that win against Palace. So just before the World Cup is when they started to come into their own, and then they've kind of carried on. The World Cup could have dented that. It could have been like, oh, we're going up, doof, and then it's over, that good run. But they've carried on, so really good from Forest, I must say. I think just before the World Cup run.
And obviously, sorry,
Go on.
I was going to say, yeah, obviously, a lot of the talk was about how much money we spent in the summer and how much we're looking to even spend again in January. Now, from my point of view, I grew up when a time when with Brian Clough and also with our Premier League seasons, and on each occasion when we got relegated and came back into the Premier League, we came in with no money. The seasons were atrocious. Apart from the Collymore season, that was probably the bright spark in my upbringing. Growing up in my, it was probably in my mid teenage years as I was growing up. But after that, the subsequent time we got promoted, we went down with a whimper. Really, we had no money to spend, and this season's felt very different, and it has been very different. From the outside point of view, did Forest look a little bit like they were shooting fish in a barrel, or did it seem like there was a structured targets to the players that we were getting in, or did it just look like we're going for everyone on the market?
To me, I think the reality is they did have to bring some players in because obviously they had crucial loan players that needed to be replaced. But I still didn't expect them to be signing around 20 players. So that was really, it looked to me a bit over the top. But I like Cooper. I know this is his first summer at recruiting for Nottingham Forest, but there's something about this manager. I tracked him when he was at Swansea City. He always brought in good players. I mean, they got into playoffs twice. He really could be in the Premier League with Swansea City right now. But yeah, I think what's weird with the transfers is kind of the players I wasn't too familiar with have really impressed me. And then Lingard and Dennis, who I thought, really good. They've been a bit underwhelming for me. So, yeah, I mean, I don't suppose until the players get playing how they're actually going to perform. But I like the squad depth. I think it's ticking over. It's looking good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who's impressed you, Matt? Just before you answer that, guys, we've got a Q&A open for Matt. So make sure you get your questions into Matt. Matt said he's more than happy to answer it. And we will be asking him if the rumor is true about him being a closet Forest fan. Don't worry, I got you guys covered on that one. But is there any player or two, Matt, that's really stuck out to you so far this season that you've been overly impressed with from the Forest squad?
Yeah, so going forwards, I like Brennan Johnson. I mean, that's the thing from a couple seasons ago now. Brennan Johnson's just a class act. And I think I've said in other videos, if Forest didn't go up last year, I genuinely think he would have got taken by a Premier League team. So I think that was the best, that was the only way they were going to hold on to him.
It was Brentford, I think, that were heavily interested in him last January.
Brentford, were looking. So it was the only way, in my opinion, they were going to hold on to him. And he's taken the climb really well. I think there's little areas he'll need to improve, but this is his first season in the Premier League. Maybe his finishing at times. I've seen plenty of chances. I think in the Chelsea game, he had some good chances to try and pinch that game, but he's still maturing, so he's still a young lad. He's going to get better. And the midfield is really growing on me. I like Yates and Fruella, and obviously Forest are bringing in some players in January. From Palmeiras like Danilo and Gustavo Scarpa, and the way Forest are in good form at the moment. you're thinking, how are they going to fit into that team? You know, you don't want to change this winning team. Yates is one that's really grown on me, and Fruella as well. So I quite like that midfield, and it's a good dilemma for Steve Cooper to have when he's bringing players in. You think,
Yeah.
where are they going to fit in this team?
Yeah, Freuler's an interesting one because he has kind of split the Forest fan base a bit. Because he's like, we call him the ghost. He does the hard work without really being sighted on the pitch that much.
Yeah.
And he moves the ball around and everything. But there are some Forest fans. I've had messages today alone saying, please, can you do like a analysis on Freuler? Because I don't know what he's done this season. And there are people that are still sitting on the fence about what he's doing. I personally think he should be playing further forward. But he does move that ball around, doesn't he? As he kind of does command that midfield quite well.
He does. He's been the most disciplined in that role. I think Kouyaté was initially brought in as that CDM.
Yeah.
But Cooper never played him as that. He played him more in the role that we're seeing Mangala. So he's playing a free in midfield with Freuler playing that deeper holding role. I sort of heard indications in his post-match interview from Cooper on the weekend that maybe that's a position that he's looking to play Danilo in and give Freuler a bit more freedom further up the field. And I'd like to see that. And I think that's the thing that Forest fans actually want to see because we saw his performances in the World Cup for Switzerland as well. He scored a fantastic goal. He was instrumental in them getting out of a group stage, getting through the group stages. So I think Forest fans are looking to see that side of Freuler more, and we haven't seen that so far. Hopefully, Danilo playing that role and playing it well will give us a different insight in what Freuler can bring to the team, because I do think he's been underplayed so far, but we've needed him to play that disciplined role because there's not really been anybody else that could have played that role from the squad that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, we got just a quickie. We got over 100 people in here and only 38 likes. Come on, guys! If you're loving having Matt on, hit that like button, please. We're gonna get into your questions in a second and put Matt under the spotlight and see how he does how he does with them. And of course, Matt's YouTube channel is linked to the title. So if you're not subscribed already, I'm sure most of you are. Please go and show Matt some love and make sure you click on the link in the title and go give him a subscribe as well, because he really does back our boys and we love him for it. Should we go into one of the first questions, Matt? See what the guys in the chat are doing and get those questions into the Q&A. So your first question is from our mate Simon. He says, what made you first take notice and take an interest in Forest since you started YouTubing? What was the key kind of attraction, I guess would be the right
word? So for anyone that hasn't seen my channel, I was just saying to the boys before we went live, I started it as a Coventry City channel because I'm, Coventry lad. I'm from Coventry. I support Coventry. And then I branched out to doing Championship and then Premier League content as well. And look, before I even started YouTubing, I did like Nottingham Forest. It's a collective for me. It's the stadium, the fans, the history, and something myself and my uncle always talk about is historic football clubs. And he always says about Forest because he was born in the 60s, so he remembers Forest doing really well in the late 70s, obviously winning the European Cup. So I just think it's incredible. And I got to go to the City Ground for the first time last year when I went to watch Forest versus Coventry, and that was obviously when Forest were blitzing it right at the end of the season. They took us down 2-0, and I just really enjoyed the stadium. I think the scenery, I think Nottingham's a great city as well, right on the Trent. And Mull of Kintyre before kick-off, I was like, oh my goodness me, these fans are loud. So yeah, I like Forest collectively. And then when you chuck on top of that Steve Cooper, who I said is a manager I really rated at Swansea, he comes in, I'm thinking, oh my goodness me. I mean, when he came in, remember Forest were bottom, we were thinking, all right, can he keep them up and push them towards mid-table? I mean, no, I don't know how optimistic you guys were, but I didn't in my wildest dreams think Forest were going to go zup into 4th place at the end of the season. So yeah, just everything came together, and yeah, I've been loving tracking Forest's progress this year. So yeah, I think, like I say, good manager, good fan base. I think what I said is they're going to take a few people by surprise in the Premier League this year. That's why I backed them to stay up. And despite a lot of people being against that, I think they'll still stay up. I'm standing by that.
It's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, when did you start believing us? Because it's exactly how Matt said. I was like, once he came in, I was like, all right, just don't get relegated. I can't deal with another, run in Division 1. And then it was like, starts going up and you're like, all right, I think we're safe now. Maybe do we start looking up? It was For me, it wasn't until probably end of Jan where I started to think,
Yeah.
you get the calculator out. I had it out a few times. If we beat these guys now, this will happen. But it just never happened. I remember there was this massive period where we kept winning, but we couldn't quite get into the playoffs. There's always the
Yes.
results around us weren't just going
Yeah.
quite right. And it's like, oh, this is just going to be typical Forest, man. But it
Yeah.
wasn't until end of Jan for me where I started to get the calculator out. I don't know what you did, Ez.
Yeah, no, it was pretty much the same time as well. And it started off with the cup run, and that was the catalyst, no doubt, for us to really push on. And you're right, because we were playing cup games, teams around us were playing, and we were getting results, but not really moving in the table. And then once we got into our playoffs, we didn't fall out of it. And then from that point, it actually very quickly turned into a chase for automatic. Because
Yeah.
once we got that momentum, and I think in our last, the last couple of results obviously went astray with Bournemouth result and not winning on our last game of the season. But I think it was the Luton result that kind of like gave us a kick in the teeth. And then we pushed on again. We lost to Luton away, didn't we? And then we pushed on again. Thought, right, we can still
Yeah.
do this. Bournemouth were really shaky. They were having some really dodgy results towards the end of the season, and they desperately needed that win over us to get them over the line, but we pushed them all the way. And it's strange. It went from being satisfied, getting out of a relegation zone to starting to look up, then realizing we weren't actually moving. And then it was a very transitional season
Yeah.
that season.
It was crazy.
It
It
was
was
mad.
crazy.
I've never seen the Forest fans all in unison like what I did last season. It was a remarkable season in so many ways, and obviously Steve Cooper coming in allowed all that to happen.
He turned it around. He really did. Guys
Around.
in the chat, let us know when you started to believe. I'm just going to bring up some of these comments. It's quite interesting. Simon saying he started believing after the Hull game at home. Owen saying it was the Bristol City late comeback. Was that Lyle Taylor scoring two late on, wasn't it? Yeah, on that one. Yeah, that was a crazy game. Chapo saying after the punch at Stoke. Let's have a look. What else we got here? We got more questions. We got so many questions, guys. If you get the questions into the Q&A, and that way we'll keep it organized and everything. Ben saying it was the 4-1 against Swansea. Was that the one with Sam Surridge's beautiful?
Yeah.
Did he get a hat trick in that one?
That day,
No, that
didn't
was the
he?
5-4. Was it 4-1 or
it was.
5-1?
It was 5-1. He got a hat trick because
That was a great game.
Maiten got a late goal, didn't he, when he came on? Alex Maiten scored. Yeah.
Oh, that was a good goal. I was happy for him. Jolly Ollie's in here saying, "Evening, you Reds. Matt is a Red." Oh man, they want to convert you so badly. They sort of convert you. Mark still doesn't believe it. I can confirm, Mark, we are in the Premier League, so it is real. It is real. All right, let's jump on to some more questions and get those up for you. Let's have a look. Who should we go with? The Viking Heart says, let's bring it up. Matt, what 3 teams would you like to go and to see going down, and what 3 teams would you like to see going up? Oh, very interesting. Obviously, Coventry is going to be one of them, I assume. I don't know. Some people love the Championship. As Ant is back, Ant, are you alive?
Hey. Are you?
Yeah, I think I'm alive. Who knows?
You are live.
You're live, mate. You're live, yeah.
Live.
I had weird audio issues. I'll explain later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so Matt, on that one, what teams would you like to see going down, mate?
So going back to what I was saying about liking Forest for being a big club in the history, I think what I would do in my ideal world is kind of roll back the years and take out some of the new teams to the Premier League and add some of the old classic historic clubs. Like, I know they're not in the Championship, but say Sheffield Wednesday went straight through and got up. Sheffield United, get them back in there. I'd maybe pull out Bournemouth. I don't know, maybe a Southampton as well. But I think it'd be great to even
Brentford.
It needs a round of applause. It needs a round of applause. It really does.
It's name 3 teams. I'll say 3 teams that are in the Championship. Sheffield United, I mean, they probably are going up. But I think they're a passionate fan base. They've got good history. Middlesbrough, I think, have a good chance this season. I think Burnley will go up, but if I was to pick one, who else? I mean, I'd obviously add Coventry City in there. But if we're going to exclude some bias, maybe who have we got? We've got Middlesbrough, Sheffield United. Do you know I know they're not in the Championship, but I'm just going to go for Sheffield Wednesday to go straight through.
yeah.
Just say
You know what, mate? Yeah. I agree with those. I really do.
Well,
Like,
there's one that I'd put in then because I think he's made a massive improvement since they've been there. Is West Brom. I think I'd keep an eye on West Brom because Corberon seems to be
I
doing.
don't like West Brom.
It's Corberon, no. It's a Corberon effect.
Yeah,
He's
fuck
a good
'em.
manager at that
Fuck
level.
'em.
I don't care about him, obviously.
Sunderland, Sunderland up, Brentford down.
Yeah, Sunderland. Sunderland there then.
Yeah.
I hated Sunderland because they finished. Do you remember that season where we went up? It was with Sunderland, wasn't it, one year, and then the other year was with Middlesbrough,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like I don't know.
Have you
How's the
ever been-
rivalry between Coventry and the other clubs? Like, do you hate West Brom? Are they close enough for you to hate them, or who would be the number one?
Leicester, wouldn't it?
I don't even know if you guys will know this, but I'd say Coventry fans, out of the teams in the Championship, most of them would say they hate Sunderland the most. There's this weird rivalry.
Really?
There's not like geography to do with this, because Sunderland's,
Yeah.
it's all up in the northeast, Coventry's in the West Midlands. It's kind of historic. I mean, it stems back to '77. I don't know if you guys remember the season Coventry stayed up. The game was delayed 15 minutes, and we stayed up because Jimmy Hill showed the result, and Sunderland went down. They've never forgiven us. They hated Jimmy Hill, and every time we meet, there's just horrible nastiness between the fans. Whenever we're up at Sunderland, there's always some idiots that chuck stuff down on the Sunderland fans, and yeah,
there are souls. There's no doubt about that. But they've got a great stadium.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't get that stadium in general having the away end up there. I mean, it's the same with Newcastle.
It's asking for trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But Birmingham, it's not really that nasty because to be honest, they did us a favour. They lent us their stadium, didn't they?
Yeah.
They did, yeah.
And then West Brom, not really. No. So I think Cov fans would probably say Sunderland because there's a bit of history to that one.
Do you guys hate Leicester at all?
Yeah. So if we're looking away from the Championship, Coventry would probably choose between Leicester and Aston Villa. I think traditionally it was Aston Villa, but then Coventry haven't been in the Premier League for 22 years now, so Villa and Birmingham's a more renowned one now. And then Leicester are kind of a weird one because, Forest have got Derby, Leicester just sat there. It's kind of, Leicester and Coventry should kind of be coupled up, but it's not really the same as like a Forest and Derby, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Leicester are weird, aren't they? They're just desperate to find a rival, and no one wants to pair up with them. It's just like, you guys just stay over there. We've got our own business here.
Mind you, to be fair, Derby are pretty relevant to us now, aren't they?
Exactly.
That's true. It's absolutely true. Let's get some more questions up for Matt.
Matt,
It's going to come up, Matt. We might as well get it over and done with now. Mark's saying, Matt, I know you're Coventry, but who's your favourite team?
Just say the right thing.
Look. I don't know where to start.
It's all right. We do this to everybody that comes on here. Everybody that comes on here. We know you're a secret Forest fan, really. We do it to everybody. Don't feel picked on.
I don't see. Look, he's a Cov fan, right? It's a bit like Ant. This is how I describe Matt, right? Ant is a closet Arsenal fan, right?
Yeah.
He loves
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
It's not even closet anymore. It's not even closet.
He really does, yeah. But it doesn't make him an Arsenal fan, yeah. So. I guess, Matt, seeing that Mark asked it, I'm just going to put it to you because they all love you. But yeah, who would be your favourite team outside of Cov, I guess?
So, do you know, the thing that's interesting is I really don't like people that support two teams. Like,
I don't support two teams. I don't support two teams.
No,
I like Arsenal because of the football that they play. They play beautiful football.
So,
Call me out on my own channel. Call me out on my own channel.
I'll start again, Anne. I'm sorry.
No, okay, you're right, Matt. You're right. We don't like him either.
Right, so I don't like people that support two teams, and that's, do you know what it is? It's usually people that they support their local team and then one of the big six. I'm like, no, I respect people that support your local. So if I lived in Nottingham, I would have probably been brought up a Nottingham Forest fan. If I lived in Birmingham, probably Birmingham or Villa. Do you know? I respect people that do that. So, yeah, away from Coventry, there's teams I do have a soft spot for. I won't come out and say, look, I support this team because that would be contradicting my theory. But I do like Nottingham Forest. I've got a lot of time for them, and like for the reasons I said, the history, the fan base, the stadium, and just to see them back in the Premier League. After 23 years, it's kind of similar to Coventry. I kind of understood the Forest fans' pains because we've been out for 22 years now.
Yeah.
So you got one more year to wait.
You got one more year, mate. Put your money on. Put your money on next season.
Yeah, but I look at it that around the time I was born, because I was born in '99. These big clubs started falling away. Sheffield Wednesday went down in 2000, Forest in '99, Coventry in 2001. You had teams, Wimbledon, that slipped away, and they kind of never returned. So I'm really glad to see Forest break that trend there. Other than Leeds, I suppose, because they went down in 2004, they returned. Forest have returned. It gives me hope as a Coventry fan that maybe one day we can return. But it's great to see Forest back in the Premier League, I will say.
Yeah, I used to like those. I'm with you. I like those traditional clubs, from my childhood. Sheffield Wednesdays, as you're saying, Coventry in the Premier League. Even though I always remember Coventry was an ugly match when Forest used to play them. It was always a tough game. I think Brian, was that the one where Brian Roy scored his hat trick? Was it against Cov back in the day? Or was that Colin Moore? I was really young. And Ant will know. Any highlight games in your memory bank, Ant, from Forest Coventry back in the Premier League days?
Are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm building you a platform here. You always want to talk about you when I was a kid.
Where Nottingham Forest Football Club sealed the league championship? The game, where it was, the score, the scenes.
Go on, talk us through it.
Go on, Grandad. Let us know.
I know.
We're all in our 20s above you.
0-0 Highfield Road. That's where we sealed the league championship, 1977.
There you go. That's a walk down memory lane. Can I say what?
He looks so angry about it as well, doesn't he?
I don't know why you're upset about it.
We took the whole ground. It was just a sea of scarves and flags and people with sheets with writing on it like we used to do in those days.
Matt, can you understand the title of this show and who it's all based around?
Listen, I'm busy trying to change my lighting so I don't look like I've just got out of the grave.
Out of the crypt. But you know what? It's a really bad thing.
Again.
It's a really bad thing, but one overriding memory I've got of Coventry in the Premier League is that player that got that horrific injury. Can you remember David Boost who got that horrific?
That was nasty.
It was the first time you saw an injury like that in the papers. They took really vivid photos of it. It was horrible, and I'll never forget that image, mate. I don't know why. It's not a good one, but it was one of my memories.
That was
1994, 3-0, first game of the season, away at Coventry.
Is that what you said, Anne? Is that what you said, Matt? Sorry.
What's that? No, sorry, I was referencing David Boost's injury, but
when did it happen?
remembers a game.
I remember the very minute it happened.
He speaks randomly, mate. Sometimes we just can't control him. He just
like that old fogey in the corner of the party that just cracks up every now and again.
Ask him what happened last week.
Swears a lot. Yeah, can't remember last week. But remember from 1945. Oh, yeah.
And he never talks into his mic. He's really annoying. All right, let's bring it up.
I'm really annoying.
All right, let's bring some chat messages in. Let's see what the guys are saying here. Keith's saying, man, this animation is slow. As you've triggered me like those old Boost commercials. Where have we got to? Mark saying, I stood behind the goal when Shilton pulled off that out of the world save. You got all the golden oldies going off now.
Matt, were you alive when Coventry won the FA Cup? That was good.
Yeah,
I remember it. It was good, mate. It was really good.
Do you know what? That's what I get a lot of the time from people that when you mention you're a Coventry fan. So,
Keith
for example, that's it. When I went down to London last time, bumped into someone at the tube station who worked there. He was like, "Oh, I'm a Tottenham fan. When you tell me Coventry, I just remember '87 and Keith Houchin's diving header." Yeah, that's like, yeah.
Was it that long ago? Sorry, mate. When I saw you born, I didn't realise it was that long ago.
And was it Kevin Klein, your captain? Was it Kevin Klein or something like that?
Oh, Kilcline, yeah.
Kilcline, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Kilcline, yeah, big, massive dude, yeah.
Yeah.
He used to play for Notts County, you know.
That was the first FA Cup final.
Brian Kilcline.
Brian Cloakine, that's it. That's the first FA Cup final I remember. That's how old I am. Yeah, that's
I
the
don't
one.
remember that. I'm only 21. But Darth Brexit, thank you. That's the one I was thinking about. The Campbell hat trick. That's the one I
Kev
remember.
Campbell, yeah.
That was it. Thank you,
Was it?
Darth. It's
I
been
can't remember
bugging me. I was
yeah.
like, Brian Roy, who was it?
I can't remember Brian Roy getting a hat
Is that
trick
the
for
one I was
Forest.
on
to be
about?
fair.
Is that the one I about? 3-0 away, first game of the
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
I was there, but I couldn't remember it was Kev Campbell that scored the hat trick. I do
Mate,
know.
you remember everything from 1932 and you can't remember that one. You can't.
No, I remember
I
the
might
3-0.
bring up that
I was
question.
there. It was a hot day. I remember that. Carry on.
Anyway, we're here to talk to Matt, not you. So I want to bring on some more questions. Keep those questions coming into the Q&A. There's so many. We're going to keep up as best as we can. So there's been a lot of talk in the press, Matt, over the summer, especially from the likes of certain pricks like Rory Jennings, for example, about Forest. And one of your boys, Richard Keys, he's a Cov
He's a
fan.
sky blue, isn't he?
Yeah.
Why do you think there
How
was this?
embarrassing.
Why do you think there was this negativity towards Forest and the players we were buying? Was it a case of they were hoping for failure, or do you think they just really don't like us?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I can't explain why, because I didn't see it in their vision. Do you know what I mean? I saw it the same way, I suppose, the Forest fans did, that I saw Forest being able to stay up. So I can't actually tap into their mind and see what they saw.
Why not?
I saw they didn't see, if that makes sense.
don't want
But,
You'd be a lot richer if you could, mate.
No.
yeah.
Stay away from those.
But I remember one of the videos I did before the season started, and I looked at the bookies Premier League prediction just before the ball got rolling, and they had the three that come up in that bottom three. So, I just think they're harsh on the teams that are coming up, and I think they probably looked at Forest and thought they've come up without parachute payments. They've lost a couple of the players from last year, so that's the only reasons I can put for that. But I think what annoyed me was when Forest did start to pull out some good results, like the West Ham result. They picked up 4 points from their first three, which I think is a very good start for a newly.
I thought we were going to win the league at that stage, mate.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I think that's when people's heads should have turned and been like, okay, hang on, they found their feet, but they've taken a while, and like I say, it's only just recently, when I've looked at the bookies' predictions, they've now got Forest 17th, so it's still only just surviving when they're currently 13th. So I don't know what Forest have to do to prove them wrong, but do you know what? If they keep writing you off and you keep proving them wrong, then don't worry about it.
That's it.
I prefer it that way. I really do. It's like we'll fight the world. We got some friends in Matt and a few others, who will back us. But let's do a couple more questions. Lemmy says, got to go to Cov games last season as I work near the arena. Hi, Lemmy. Hope you're good, buddy. How's the home atmosphere been this season? Because if we touch on Coventry a bit, it started off quite well as well, didn't it? And then it's kind of petered out, and you haven't won in the last 6 or 7, have you? You've drawn a couple, but is the atmosphere still decent there, or are the fans getting a little itchy?
It's been a strange season. Initially, the first few games actually weren't very good. We picked up 1 point in the first 5, and then we really recovered. We won 3 in a row, lost 1, won 4 in a row. We started to really motor up.
Was it Norwich or Burnley? Sorry, Sheffield United or Burnley you beat early on? It was.
We did beat Sheffield United.
That was
home.
it,
Yeah.
And the World Cup's been a bad turning point for us, because we went into the World Cup about 2 points off the playoffs with a game in hand, and I was thinking, oh my goodness me, and the form we're in, the World Cup's come at the worst time, and unlike with Forest, where, like I say, they carried on their good form, Coventry haven't actually really been able to find it. Now, I could put that down to a few things. We've had some injuries, so we are really down to the bare bones at the moment. I mean, I know everyone gets injuries, but we've been really unfortunate with some of ours. There's been so much off-the-pitch distractions with the change in ownership, the change in stadium ownership, the fact that we couldn't play our first 3 home games because the pitch wasn't playable because of the rugby. I think you put all that together and it's a bit distracting. And I think this season we probably will finish mid-table. We might recover a bit and then go down a bit, and how unpredictable the Championship is. But so long as we're fine from relegation, I think if we can have a season next year where there's no off-the-pitch distractions, I think we can give it a better crack next year, because at the moment we're 15th. We'd have to do something pretty special to try and get into that top 6 now.
Absolutely.
It's always a main leveler, isn't it, for injuries at that level? Because realistically, there's at least dozen teams that could realistically get into those playoff places. And even yourselves, I mean, looking at the table, you're not a million miles off, and you've got a game in hand over the sixth place team. But it does take a little bit of run and some luck with injuries, because that, yeah, like I say, that's a leveler for everyone else. If your squad's not deep enough to be able to cope with these injuries mid-season, especially, you're going to get found out. And I think that's where you fall apart. But I mean, I'll keep an eye on Coventry's results. There's no reason why you couldn't get a little bit of a run going, but you do need some key players to come back in.
Yeah. Because it's kind of December time realistically now, isn't it? If you take out the World Cup, you know, in terms of where the season would be on a normal cycle, you'd be in about December. And as Ed says, if Coventry can ride a bit of a wave and get some momentum going, I mean, do you guys take inspiration from what we did last season, potentially? Do you look at that and think it's doable? Because it always is, isn't it, in the Championship? I always remember you win 2 or 3 in the bounce and suddenly you kick up the table, and then suddenly the outlook's very different. Is that something you guys maybe try and... Do you think you can do that, potentially? Or is it just, let's battle down and we'll do a 23-year into the Premier League next season thing?
I think, to be honest, yeah, you guys have now actually coined a new term, which is to do a Forest, because
nice.
Coventry, like I say, 1 point from 5 games, we were kind of in the position you were at the start of last season, and we were bottom. And then when we started to win a few games, like I say, there was a point where we won 4 in a row. People turned around to me, we're doing a Forest, look at us. And then it slowed down, so we're not quite continuing that trend. But like I say, we've been a bit unfortunate with injuries. The World Cup didn't come at a good time, and all the off-the-pitch nonsense. But yeah, to be honest, if I try and look at some positives now, we've played Sheffield United twice, we've played Norwich twice, we've played Burnley twice. They're some of the best teams in the division. So we've got a favourable run, but we've kind of got to a point where we now really need to probably churn out about 2 points per game to really get back in there. So you know how competitive this division is, but
it's crazy.
I find it so fascinating this season that the top 2 have already seemed to have run away, but then the playoff battle goes down to about 16th. It's just like, who's going to get in there?
Yeah,
it's an interesting one this year. It really is. Go on, jump in, mate. But before you do, we got over 150 in here.
He does this every time. But before you do,
shut up. We got 150 in here. Get us to 100 likes at least. Come on, guys. Stop being so lazy. We got 79 likes. And don't forget, if you're not already subscribed to Matt, go and click on the link in the title and show Matt some love, because he shows us a lot of love back. And now you can talk. Permission granted. Right. Now he's forgot what he wanted to say.
No, I haven't. I mean, obviously, we all know that the Championship's absolutely crazy. Nobody's out of it until they're relegated. You know what I mean? You can make a late surge at any time. But what I was going to ask you is that obviously Coventry have had some really tough times. You know, ground closures, moving about, almost hitting liquidation. Is this like the most stable you've been for a long, long time? Do you feel stable now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do now. It's the ownership that's really sealed it for me, because the times have been getting better recently. You know, like Coventry were in the top flight from the 60s until 2001, and we won the FA Cup in that time. I'm not saying we set the world on fire every season. Most times we were staying up on the final day, but you know, really good stretch there. And then it all went wrong in the early 2000s. We went down, and you know, you mentioned Highfield Road earlier. We shouldn't have left that stadium, because the way we left that stadium is we left a stadium we owned to go to a stadium we didn't own. The council owned that, and then they ended up screwing us over, selling it to Wasps, and that was a big fiasco. I was one of the Coventry season ticket holders when we went to Northampton for a season, and there was 1,000 of us. Imagine, like, you know, we were getting 15 to 20,000 at the Coventry Stadium, the CBS now. You know, we were averaging crowds of just about 2,000 at Northampton, and that was, I generally thought, oh my God, my club is dying. Like, how does it turn around here? We came back to Coventry, but then we still went down to League Two, and I'm thinking, oh my God, like, you know, we're really shooting down. What's going wrong? And then Mark Robbins, you know, he is our Steve Cooper. He's come in, he's guided us up the divisions, and he's the longest serving manager in the Championship now. And I'm a massive advocate of giving managers a long time. I mean, obviously, if they're doing a terrible job, get rid of them. But
the right manager,
this, you know, sorry,
the right manager, the right
manager, of course. But football's really changing to a point where I'm not too happy with it, because some managers come in now, they get 6 games, and if they've not won, they're out. You know, where in the 90s, the 80s, you had managers Clough, Ferguson, Wenger. They'd been, you know, they got such long times, and people seem to forget with Ferguson, his first 4 years, he didn't actually win anything. They
Yeah,
forget
well,
about
you
that because he
mentioned
obviously
you
went on to do
mentioned Mark.
amazing.
You mentioned Mark Robbins. I was at the game when, I mean, believe it or not, Forest were massive favourites to win that FA Cup game
Yep.
because Man U was shite and we were a
Yeah.
good side, and they got a win. I don't know how they did it. 1-0, Mark Robbins, and that they always say that's the
Saved
goal
him.
that saved his job. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
still
mad.
angry about it
hurt.
now.
Yeah.
That
so-
hurts. That really, if that's true, that really does hurt.
Yeah, he was being sacked. If he'd not won that game,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was being sacked.
yeah. I think that's
God damn it,
common knowledge
man.
now, isn't it?
My schoolhood years would have been so different not listening to those
Yeah,
classic
everybody-
Man U fans. Yeah. We are going to get onto the Man U game, but it's so fun getting these questions up. This one's an interesting one from Estro. Matt, what's more embarrassing, Forest losing 4-1 to Blackpool or Coventry losing to Wrexham at home? And I want to use this as a segue. Wasn't that the game where Panzo got sent off as well in that game? Yeah. But how do you
did.
feel about being out of the FA Cup? And you're in good company here, mate.
Yeah, don't worry.
yeah, who likes the FA Cup anyway?
Yeah.
2 handles, we don't care.
It's all about the Carabao Cup.
Exactly.
Yeah, so do you know what's interesting? I think on paper the Wrexham defeat is more embarrassing, but when I looked at the games beforehand and I looked back at my predictions, I did actually think Wrexham would cause us some problems. I think I went for a draw, whereas I backed Forest to win at Blackpool. Now I know Forest rotated a bit, and Blackpool, fair play to
11
them.
changes.
Yeah, well, we're quite a lot. But, Blackpool won that game, and
They weren't great changes, mate. But we made some
if it was
changes.
11.
well, I think the thing that kind of saved Forest many blushes is the fact they're still going really strong in the Carabao Cup. You can say, look, we're quite far in this competition. We're concentrating on staying in the league. We don't want to juggling things here. The Coventry one, like I say, I thought Wrexham would cause us problems. I never thought they'd score 4 goals. That was honestly, they are probably going to be in the Football League soon. That's not.
I'm gonna have to fight you about this, about which is the most embarrassing.
Well,
With all due respect, we're supposed to be a Premier League team, and you go to crappy little Blackburn and you get absolutely hammered.
Blackpool,
You know what I
mate,
mean?
not
Blackpool.
Blackpool, sorry. That team had 11 changes, but I would guess, and I might be wrong here, but I would guess you would take virtually any one of those 11 players. It wasn't a bad side we put out. Don't let that fool you. It was a good, decent side we put out. I mean,
I don't know if you take Steve
a lot of money
Kirk,
on that pitch, and they were.
In fact, would you take Steve Cook?
Do you want Steve Cook, mate?
That's what I was thinking.
Probably.
You know when
Yeah,
I said you'd take
probably,
any of
I'm not
those
gonna lie.
players, I was thinking, did Steve Cook play?
He did.
He did. He definitely did.
But I do want to use that as a segue into Panzo, because I've had a lot of questions off air. People saying, when Matt gets in, please ask him about Panzo. Please ask him how he's doing. Obviously, he got sent off in that game, but he started with a couple of cracking goals, didn't he? Like early season. How's he been generally? And is there a player in him going forward, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he scored. I'm pretty sure he scored a couple in pre-season. That
was it, yeah.
Goals. Yeah, I
Some,
think he got
like,
like a brace or
worldies,
something
yeah.
in the game.
Yes,
and I was
yeah.
thinking, hang on, I thought he was meant to be a centre back. And then the first game of the league season, we played Sunderland away. He didn't score, but oh my god, he nearly scored the best goal I've ever seen from a centre back.
saw that.
It's like 35 yards out. I was like, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It came down off the underside of the bar, and I was like, goodness me, is that a centre back? He's got a great strike on him. And he's fitted in quite well. We were rotating at the start of the season. We play with sort of back 3, and we had 4 centre backs, so we kind of chop and change who's in there. But he's been quite a constant, and I've quite liked him. I think he's young, so he's still got a bit to learn. There's 1 or 2 loose passes, but he's been averaging around a 7 match rating out of 10 most games, which I think's pretty good, really. And then he has scored in the league. I think he scored a header against Swansea. He's quite good in the air defensively and going forwards. He's the kind of player I'm thinking get up for the corner. So yeah, and the red card against Wrexham, I didn't actually see it. I'm not sure if these are reds nowadays, but I don't know if it was intentional. He kind of fell down and his arm wasn't quite tucked in, but it wasn't blatantly out, and it hit it, which was goal bound. He sent him off. I'm not mad at him for that, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he's not bad. I'd be happy to have him on a permanent, but that's not really up to us.
One of his strengths, I mean, he played the last few games towards the end of our promotion season, and one of the things I liked about him was that he came out with the ball. Came out of defense. Have you been seeing him playing that way? Is he being brave on the ball, and is he triggering some of the attacks playing that way?
Yeah, see, that's the way Coventry do try and play football. You know, we always try and recruit, even at the back, players that can bring it out. So we brought in Doyle from Manchester City as well. He's a centre back, and he's similar in that way. You know, we don't just have kick it, hoof it centre backs. These are centre backs that are quite composed on the ball. They can bring it out, and like I say, he's even got a shot on him. So you'd almost imagine he could play as a defensive midfielder as well. So yeah, that's the kind of players we recruit. And if Forest were to go with that sort of style of play, I think he would maybe come into that team in a couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, Steve Cook will fit right in with you guys, mate. Honestly.
It's perfect. No, honestly, joking aside, I know we take the piss out of Cook's pace a lot on here, yeah. But last year, he was brilliant for us. You cannot forget, as much as, you know, he's not Premier League level. When he came at the Championship, he was a warrior. You know what I mean? Even, I remember, bless him, at the Bournemouth match where, you know, his dad was ill or had just lost his dad or something, and he was still there present on the pitch and accounted for. So these are things you can never take away from him. But at the same time, we can't be sentimental in football. When he's getting done with any ball over the top, it's clear to see it's not his level. And I think he would work well in a Coventry or even, you know, a higher up Championship team. You know, I think he'd still do quite well. So I will give him. I know I must be coming down with something, but I still think there is a player in him. But having said that, Blackpool made him look very average that day as well. So, you know, it is what it is. Okay, should we get some more questions up? Sean says, Matt, do you think Mark Robins is the right manager to get you to the Premier League? Ooh, big question.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. I wouldn't change him for the world, honestly. I've never seen success like this at Coventry City. I mean, obviously in my lifetime, you know, there's the older fans that remember John Sillett, Jimmy Hill. But yeah, since the turn of the century, brilliant, honestly. And like I say, Coventry were getting to a point in League Two and not a safe place to play home games. I was thinking, oh my gosh, is my club dying here? Because the reality is that is how some football clubs could go. I mean, we saw it with Bury. We all thought it was just a myth. Oh, football clubs can die. It's a reality. These football clubs can die if they're ran the wrong way. And I was thinking, oh my gosh. And he's completely turned it around to a point where we're pushing. You know, last season we finished 12th and I was a little bit disappointed. 12th in the Championship for Coventry after where we were 5 years ago is phenomenal. And the fact I was a little bit disappointed goes to show how far we've come. The Championship is where you probably need your money, and Coventry don't have a lot of that. But with new owners, maybe in a couple of years we might get a bit closer. I just want one season, even if it's in the next 3 seasons, where we could just sneak into 6th and have one shot at getting up.
The problem with saying that, mate, is I kind of what am I trying to say here? You know, last season I got greedy. Yeah, so I know what you're saying about 6th. When we got into 6th, I started getting flashbacks to the Sheffield United back in 2003, Swansea's Yeovils, etc. So when it felt like we could catch Bournemouth, I was like, we've got to go up automatic or we're not going up, just with the history we've had in there. So as football fans, I always feel we always get too greedy. And then you're like, all right, please just win the playoffs. Even if we go up and come straight back down, at least I've seen Premier League football now. But now you're in it, you're like, I want to win the league, you know. I want European football next season. Let's beat Man U and get into the final, you know. So we're just greedy gits, aren't we, when it comes to fans, and we just always want more. So
has there been? I was going to say, has there been a spell where his job's been at real danger, or has he managed to always pull out the results to get him through that line?
No, honestly, that's why I'm so confident with Robins. There's never been a point. So he joined us when there was about 10 games left and we were bottom of League One. So when he came in, it was like, yeah, we're going to be a League Two team next year. He cannot stop that. To be fair, he gave it a great crack as well. I think we won like 4 out of our final 8. So we climbed up to about 23rd, but we still went down. And then in League Two, we were always in the top half and then always in the top 7. And then we finished in the playoffs. And I suppose that's the only point where things could have been on the line for him. When we were in the League Two playoffs, if we'd have not come back up that first season in League Two, maybe fans could have been like, oh, not sure. But yeah, he did that. And then, you know, our first promotion in 50 years. So everyone was sort of like, well, we'll stick with this guy, and it's just been building. There's been no pressure. There's no calls for his head. There might be the one idiot when we lose 2 games in a row. Oh, Robin's out, but realistically, we're all behind him.
That's good.
Yeah, fantastic. Andy, you saying something or nodding?
I'm nodding.
You're nodding, okay. Si wants to know, what do you think of the Greek father? Our very own Marinakis, as we call him, the Greek father, who's our owner. Do you think he's, because again, TalkSport, bloody, what's the Scottish guy called? I forgot his name now.
Jim White.
Jim White, yeah, he keeps going on about, well, I chatted with him at the playoffs finals. He told me, he wants European football for Forest, blah, 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 and all that. And I think to myself, so what? He's an owner. Why can't he be ambitious? He's owned Olympiacos. He's had success with them. But how do you feel how's he seen outside of Forest for you, Matt? And do you think the job he's done and the way he's gone about his business this season has been good, or do you think there's things he could improve on?
To be honest, I never really had for myself anyway, I never really had a strong opinion on him. And then obviously I've sort of been tracking Forest more recently.
Yeah.
And I know there was it him that was involved with the COVID thing? Was that with Olympiacos and at Arsenal? I can't remember that. That's the only sort of strong sort of thing I'd ever really heard of him until I really started sort of concentrating on Forest this year. All I can say is in the last season, or we'll say the last year, or even just further than that, because Cooper's been there for over a year now.
Yeah.
I've been impressed with how he's been with Cooper. And one thing that's always stuck with me so far this season is I mentioned earlier in the season, just before they gave Cooper the new contract, I feel like it was the media stirring the pot a bit, but there was a little bit, I think it was after the Leicester defeat, was it, when it was 4-0?
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
Is Cooper the right man? And I think giving Cooper the contract is probably one of the best things that's happened to Forest this season. So I massively respect him for that. But other than that, I'm not all too familiar, I must say.
Yeah, go on, Ant.
Yeah, I mean, I idolise the guy. I mean, what he's done for us is absolutely outstanding. And when we got promoted, he said, we're not aiming to just stay up, we want to go on and achieve things. What is wrong with that? Why are these wankers like your mate, sorry, your compatriot, Richard Keys, and from Coventry, like criticising the fact we spent money? We had no players. Everybody should, who's in football, should know we had no players left. All our loanees went back. There were players out of contract. We needed to buy players. We had to spend money. Why is it when we spend money to try and stay up and show ambition, it's criticised? I cannot understand it. I would think that anybody in football would say, good old Forest. They've come up and they intend to try and stay up. They're making a go of it. They're going for it. They criticised Norwich City because they didn't spend any money and went straight back down. Yet we spend money we had to spend. And these bloody idiots who are just doing it for clicks, I'm sure, are criticising an owner that's actually putting money into the club. He's put his own money into our club, a lot of his own money. We're not a money-making club, so he's put his own money in the Championship to keep us going every year, getting us players, too many players sometimes, but getting us players. And we get promoted, he wants to keep us there, he shows ambition, he spends the money that's necessary, and it is necessary in the Premier League to spend money, and he gets criticised by these idiots. I don't understand it.
He's contracted to one Ant rant a week, Matt, in case you're wondering. He's just making sure he got his obligatory rant. It's a good rant, though. I can't argue much of what he said there.
I was going to follow on from Ant and just say I completely agree, because I do agree with the criticism of Norwich City when they come up and don't spend, because they're just in that cycle. They're just in that cycle where they're just up and down, and it seems to be like how they're happy to run it. So when Forest came up and spent big, and like we said, they needed to, because they needed quite a few new players after a few players going. Some people did criticise, and I was thinking, hang on, but this is the opposite to what you're criticising Norwich for. You can't criticise both. Do you get what I mean? So I completely agree with what you're saying, Ant.
Absolutely. And then we've been hearing at the start of the season, Forest are doing a Fulham. Forest are doing a Fulham. That's the new tag we got this season. Fulham bought 14 players or 11 or whatever, but Forest are doing at Fulham. I'd quite like to be doing a Fulham right now, even though I don't like Fulham. I They're just one of those clubs
They're
I
doing
just
very
don't
well.
like. All right, we haven't even begun to talk about what we're here to talk about, which is Forest against Man U. You guys are like
Oh, yeah, it's Man U
inundating poor
preview.
Matt with questions. Matt, thank you so much for being patient, but they really do love you, the Forest
Yeah.
fans, and I hope you're feeling the love in the chat from them. If you haven't already, I'm sure you all are, but for those few of you that aren't, please subscribe to Matt's channel. Let's take a little diversion now and start talking about tomorrow's game. I saw your video with Sophie today. Well, I can't say I was best pleased with your prediction, mate.
You wait till you hear mine.
Oh. Matt, do you fancy replacing him on a permanent basis? I know where he's going. But talk to us about the game tomorrow. Obviously, you're going. Are you excited to go? What are you expecting from the atmosphere? And how do you think the game's going to pan out tomorrow? Because when we went to Old Trafford, it was a bit of a whimper just after the World Cup. How do you see tomorrow? And guys in the chat, start getting involved. Start telling me your fears or your hopes for tomorrow. What do you think the score will be? We'll do a little poll while Matt tells us his thoughts.
Yeah, so obviously, interestingly enough, it was about a month ago they did play. And I think the thing for me is Forest are a different kettle of fish at home. I don't know if it's just the crowd makes a massive difference or if they're more comfortable. Maybe it's both. But I predicted Forest to actually get something at Old Trafford because, like I say, before the World Cup, I was following this trend. Hang on, Forest are getting better, and they're beating Liverpool. So I was thinking, why can't they take on Manchester United?
Yeah.
Obviously, 3-0, and I don't think you guys can argue too much with that based on the performance. Manchester United did create more. Forest.
Well, mate, let me just hold you right there, mate, because Varchester United, as I call them, had VAR come to their rescue with Ryan Yates. Yeah, I'm not saying he wasn't offside, but I'm just saying VAR had to intervene. Okay, we still would have been 2-1 down. All right, fine. I'm just grasping. Go on. Sorry. Can I just quickly say that before you jump back in? Visual Joker, thank you so much for the £1.79. Really appreciate the support, buddy. Our market value's nearly doubled from 150 to 250. If the Greek father doesn't know how to run a business and show passion, then I don't know who does. Sorry, Matt, I cut you off mid sentence there.
No, I agree with that actually. If Forest goal stands 2-1, who knows going into the second half? Because I followed that game and I thought, hang on a minute, that could have changed the game. I do think, the VAR decision didn't help, and so on we go. But yeah, at home, I think we're talking 6-7 games at the City Ground they haven't lost for.
Yeah. Since September, isn't it? We haven't. It was Fulham. It was Fulham. I think our last loss there.
Yeah, and do you know what's weird as well is obviously it was the Fulham and Bournemouth games where you're thinking they're the. I don't want to bring them up. Yeah,
I was really warming to you until you said those two games.
They're the ones that
go on, open the wound, open it. Go on.
Ones, you know, you've got to win. But then, like I say, they've made up for that for beating Liverpool. They've beaten Palace. They've got a draw against Chelsea. And like I say, they could have beaten Chelsea. The Wolves game, I thought Forest were quite good in the first half. I do think Wolves were quite good in the second half, but. If it goes to penalties, I know this is 2 legs, but if it somehow went to penalties at Old Trafford, who knows? But then again, Dean Henderson's a big miss, isn't he? Obviously, he's injured anyway. But
huge.
See, I've gone for a draw. I think what I said is Manchester United come into this on not the best last couple of games, which is kind of ideal for Forest because in general United have been pretty good. But then you think a little bit of negativity here because 1-1 at Palace last minute, 3-2 defeat to Arsenal. That's really going to take it out of them. And that game as well on the Sunday really will, take it out of them against Arsenal, and they were really clinging on there, United. So I think there could be late drama here. I could see Forest maybe getting the equaliser or a late winner in the last couple of minutes. But I've gone 1-1. United have got lots of quality, but I think the home advantage is massive for Forest. They can't afford to lose. They probably need to win, being realistic, going back to Old Trafford. But I'll sit on the fence.
Okay, so I'm not letting you off the hook, Matt, right? Because you're sitting on the fence on this one. Are you going to wait to come off the fence until you see the result going into the second leg? Or do you think... Let me play out your scenario. We draw tomorrow 1-1, or Sophie said 2-2, didn't she? So either way, we're kind of talking about the same result. What do you think that would then happen with that result at Old Trafford?
If that plays out, Forest need a massive result at Old Trafford. Obviously, it means winning or drawing and winning on penalties. And I think, unfortunately enough for Forest, the fact that the second leg is away means if it does go to penalties, it's going to be at Old Trafford, so that's a tough one as well. And like we said, no Henderson. Maybe if you could bring back Samba for one game, that'd be brilliant.
I'll take that.
But if it does finish 1-1, I don't know.
You can just say it. We can see it on your face. Just say it. You won't annoy us. We got him about to say we're getting tonked. So
yeah, don't worry, Matt. Wait till you come to my predictions. You didn't worry.
But that's what I mean about needing to try and win the home game.
I fully agree.
Then at least draw the away game, and that would be enough. But we'll wait and see.
I fully agree. Chat, yes or no? Do Forest have to win tomorrow to be in for a chance to get to the semi-finals? I hate to do this, but I'm going to go to Ant and ask him. Go on then, because then I'll get to Ez, who will be more motivational and inspirational after.
Yeah.
But Ant, how are you seeing this? Because I don't like the look on your face.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. It's the only one I've got. Well, first of all, as you know, I don't give a shit about the League Cup, right? I don't give a shit about
Even now,
cup.
Ant. Even now we're in the semi-final.
Free handles.
No.
The extra handle's not selling it to you.
I've been to Wembley to watch the League Cup 6 times. I'm getting bored of it. It gets a bit repetitive. You know what I mean? I've seen us win that trophy 4 times. It's old hat now. Yeah, so I don't really give a shit. You know I don't. I said that before the whatever the last game was we played in it. Wolves, that was it. Yeah, before that game I said I didn't care. I got a little bit excited when I saw Southampton got through. I got to be honest. And maybe if we're playing Southampton, my enthusiasm might be a little bit higher. But in general, I'm not that bothered. But I will say, football's a funny old game. You never know what's going to happen. Strange things happen in the Cup. But I think we'll get beaten 3-0 at City Ground and 4-0
They're going to beat us at the City Ground 3-0. I thought you meant the overall leg. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
And what's happened, mate?
Not really. No.
I think that Arsenal loving has gone to your head too much.
No, look.
Second
if I put my Forest goggles on, I could say, yeah, we might get a draw. If I put my Forest goggles on. If I take my Forest goggles off.
And put your Arsenal ones on.
See what I have to put up with, Matt. They pick on me all the time.
No, see what we have to put up with.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sitting on the fence here, guys. I'm not getting involved.
Oh, you'll fit right in. You'll fit. That's great swap.
I said to you before, apart from a freak week out in the predictions league, you see my predictions. I'm useless. So it doesn't matter if I say 3-0, does it? Let's be honest. In fact, that's probably a good thing to do. No, okay, I won't say 3-0. I'll say 2-0 then.
2-0. Guys in the chat, should we replace Ant? You know, should we send him to like AFTV or something? He'll fit right in over there. As a little more positivity,
a little bit more positivity, mate. I like Matt alluded to earlier, us at home is a different beast altogether. And you touched on the Mulligan tie. Wait till you hear it tomorrow night, mate, because it's been absolutely amazing this season, and obviously you're going to be sat with the Forest fans as well, I think. And if it's tickets from our Simon, then you're going to be front row seats, mate. You'll get best view of the action.
Mind you, will be very close to the Man U fans as well, won't he?
Well, yeah, you won't be too far off them, but you'll be in between A block and the Man U fans. But yeah, it's crazy.
Where you're going, Matt? They're crazy in that corner.
Yeah, but
fans, they're crazy.
This season, all the noise has been stemming from that corner of the stadium, so you'll really enjoy it, mate. You'll be right in the middle of it. But with the atmosphere, with the fans behind us, mate, I fancy us to come away with a win. I'm going to be super optimistic, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 win, mate. I'm going with that. I'm happy clapping more of away as well.
Yeah,
I might start to get interested in it if we do that.
So you're a Glory supporter, is what you're saying. It's an interesting one. Do you think with 2-0 that would be enough to get us through? Or do we need more?
I think 2-0 is as good as we're going to get going into that game, and I think we can hold on to it. They've got. I wish they'd had a tougher FA Cup tie on the weekend because maybe they'll rest.
Yeah.
They've got to rest some players between these two
Yeah,
games,
they
and
do.
they're more likely to rest them on the weekend than against us. So that would have been the only other thing that could have helped. But honestly, at home, I'll take anyone on in Premier League. I'm not worried. Away from home, we just have to play we'll play as tight as we can. But we've got to go into that game with holding on to something. So I'm going to be optimistic. Say we can go in with a 2-0 win, and then we'll just shut up shop. We'll park the bus and everything else at Old Trafford.
Just before I let Ant jump in, because I love stopping him from jumping in. I love the chat. I love you guys in the chat, right? 72% going with a Forest win. Love you guys. Love you guys. 10% are Arsenal fans because they've gone with Manchester United, and 18% have gone with the draw. So I'll leave that vote open a little longer if some of you haven't done it yet. Just quickly before Ant comes in, don't forget, please, Matt's been fantastic and given us so much of his time already. Please subscribe to his channel. I've seen a few comments saying you've gone and subscribed. Thank you for subscriber. I'm sure Matt will pass his thanks on as well in a second. And don't forget to like the video if you haven't already. And you may now jump in.
Yeah. Just because I think that Manchester United are going to win, that doesn't mean I want Manchester United to win. It doesn't make me any less of a fan. It just makes me a little bit more, realistic. And I'll be supporting Forest tomorrow. You know I will. I'll be going crazy if we can beat them bastards. I would feel a lot more confident, and I would predict us to win if it was one leg. It's about time I got rid of this two-leg rubbish in the semi-finals. Why are we playing two games when we've already got a packed calendar? It makes no sense. The FA Cup, they're playing on a neutral ground. Why can't we do that if necessary? It just seems
How do you feel about that, Matt? Do you think the League Cup needs to go to a one-legger, or do you think it could play into our favour? Because Man U've got Reading at the weekend, then they've got a Premier League game after. Then I think they've got Barca, haven't they, in the Europa Cup following that. They're basically playing weekend Wednesdays pretty much until the end of March or mid-March or something like that. Do you think it's going to be in the back of Man U's mind, or do you think Reading, they can go really weak and they'll have enough for them?
Thursdays, they're not in the Champions League,
True, my bad. Yeah.
It's a good point just made actually about them having Reading at the weekend, and that's the game you can rest, because Manchester United's rotated team should beat Reading at home, so that's a bit of an issue here for Forest. I think the thing with two legs is I think most people agree that it benefits the top six teams because they're allowed one screw up. Logic tells you they should come out and win one of the games heavily. So even let's say Man United lose 1-0 tomorrow, they'll feel like they can recover that at Old Trafford, obviously. So, and I think it's a good point just made as well. Obviously, the FA Cup, they used to do it in neutral venues, Villa Park, Hillsborough, Ellen Road, all that kind of stuff. So, that'd be brilliant to bring that back. I don't really like the two-leg idea. As you mentioned, Manchester United, it's not great for them because they've got the two legs in the Europa League to come, but I still think it benefits the top sides. Whereas if it's one leg, who knows? It could be a Southampton Forest final if it's one leg. The chance gets a little bit lower when it's two legs, but it's still not impossible.
You just have to look at Southampton's result in the last round against beating Man City at home. Over two legs, he may not have got through. I don't like the two legs either, but it is what it is, and we've got to deal with it. It usually favours a team who has a home leg second as well, doesn't it? But we've upset trends already over the last 18 months or so let's continue to do that. And I'm positive anyway for us. I think we can take something into that game.
I have to be, man. My best mate's a Man U fan. I can't deal with.
Thought I was your best mate.
Huh?
Thought I was your best mate.
Yeah, and you're an Arsenal fan.
You're my oldest.
I'm an Arsenal fan.
I just don't know. I put it in the chat as a poll. Do you want it one or two legs? I think, Matt, would you say that the ties favour Man U in the order they're in as well? You kind of touched on it there. Because if it did go to penalties, it's going to be at Old Trafford, isn't it? And they always get lucky, don't they? Charlton, they get the home legs. They've got Reading in the cup. I can't stand them.
No, I think in general, I've always wanted to have home legs second. It's usually the biggest difference is extra time penalties will be in the second leg, of course, so that benefits who's at home second. And let's pretend it's Manchester United at home tomorrow. If Forest go and win 1-0 at Old Trafford, it'd be an amazing result. And then they bring it back to the City ground. Imagine Forest would be thinking, oh my God, they're nearly there at Wembley. But it's a bit of a different one. When if Forest win 1-0 at the City ground and then we still go to Old Trafford, we're still thinking, I think a lot of people would still fancy Man United to turn that around. So I think when we realised who were the final four, the best path for Forest would have been Southampton away, then Southampton at home.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the trickiest path: Manchester United at home and then Manchester United away. I think it's been a bit of an unfortunate draw here for Forest.
But the fact is, it's 180 minutes away from Wembley, and if you look at it that way, and you focus, you'll get the players will be up for it. I think we were looking at some of the players over the weekend and possibly over the last couple of games, and some of them may have had their mind on this semi-final and taken, but it's a big tie. It's the first time in however many 30-odd years since we got to a semi-final of the League Cup. I remember two growing up in the 89 and 90, I think it was, when we won. So League Cups, obviously, we've got a rich history in it, but we've been nowhere near continuing that in the last 30-odd years. It's an amazing opportunity for a whole generation of fans to see us in the semi-final of a major cup. It's a big cup for us. So yeah, it's a great opportunity from that point of view, and that's what's been one of the best things about this season. The generations of people that had not seen us in the Premier League at all, not seen us playing these teams week in, week out, and it's a real buzz around the City ground. It's not going to end anytime soon, and tomorrow's just going to add to it. So I really hope you enjoy it, Matt, and I think you got great seats as well, and you'll soak in the atmosphere from where you are for sure.
Yeah, Simon, where's he sitting? Is it in the Bridgeford?
It's usually lower.
Is it going to be in size normal seats? Because it's a cup match. I don't know exactly where it is. I'm sure Simon will shout us out in the chat in a second. I'm just going to finish by saying we're going to beat them, and we're going to beat them comfortably tomorrow, right? You may think this is my hatred towards my mate talking, or my hatred towards Man United talking, yeah? I've just got a feeling. In this cup, we seem to play way more expansive. I don't know why. In some ways, I'd love to see us play how we did against Spurs in the Premier League, for example. It's a lower Brit front row, mate. You're gonna have fantastic view there, yeah. If you get close enough to MG Dub once he scores, tell him FFTV say hi. We love him. But I'm going.
Sorry,
go on, Ant.
No, I was going to say, if history's anything to go by, Forest have been in 6 League Cup semi-finals and won the lot.
There you go. Stop getting me excited on a cup that before the Spurs match, because my brother's a Spurs fan. I didn't care about it because I was worried we'd lose. And then suddenly after that, I'm thinking, the draws have been good. We're getting there. Now I care about it. But yeah, I'm going 3-0. Screw it. 3-0. And then I can rip every Man U fan I know. 20 years of waiting for this moment. Yeah, cool. We've kept you on here way too long, Matt. So I want to just finish off by saying thank you for being on. You've been an absolutely fantastic guest. We love you. The Forest fans love you. FFTV chat and our subscribers love you as well. And thank you for all you're doing for our club. You don't know how much it really does mean to us and put a smile on our face for the work you're doing, especially as a Coventry fan. But we've got to finish with one final question. Are you a closet Forest fan?
Right, see you guys. like I say, avoiding the question here. I'm a Coventry fan. That's where I've been born, and I don't support two teams, but I've got massive respect for Nottingham Forest, and I'm hoping they win tomorrow. I'll be jumping up and down if they could beat Manchester United. So I'll leave you with that.
You better be where you're sitting.
They'll come celebrate with you, yeah. Just quickly, Matt, what's coming up on your channel? And guys, I've already told you 3, 4, maybe 5 times. If you haven't subscribed to Matt, you will be answering to me after it. Please hit the link in the title and subscribe to him. What you got coming up maybe in the next week on the channel, buddy, that the guys could keep an eye out for? And go follow him on Twitter as well. The link is in the chat for you right now. But yeah, what have you got coming up, Matt?
Well, I just want to start by saying a massive thanks for having me on, and a massive thank you to Simon, who sorted me out the ticket. So I will be there tomorrow, and I'll be vlogging away. I'll soak up the atmosphere, get everything involved, and hopefully, like we say, Forest can pull out a good result. And then from there on in, it's FA Cup weekend, so I'll have predictions for that, be covering some of those games, and then back to the Premier League action soon. So, yeah, January's a great month, I think. And then obviously we'll be doing predictions for the second leg. We'll have to wait and see how the first leg plays out here. But, yeah, lots of football to come. So if you like your football stuff, do feel free to head over.
Yep. Now, right now, guys, right now, because we're going to end the stream now. Your task right now is to go and subscribe to Matt. I know pretty much 99% of you are, but go and do it. Yeah, we'll get a hoodie over to nice spelling there. Oh my, but we know what you're saying. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Before you leave, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We'll have the watch along for you guys tomorrow, as well as the transfer news daily video. We'll do the player ratings after the match once we've tonked Varchester United 3-0. I'm looking forward to it. We'll catch you then. Thank you all for your time. We'll catch you tomorrow. And come on, you Reds.
You
And Blues. And Sky.